Okay. And then I just want to let you know that this is for my research project, and basically what we had to do for our research project is we were given this idea of Ecovista, and like we had to do like a research project like around that. So we chose to do it on the Isla Vista Food Co-op and comparing it to the Isla Vista Food Market, just to see like how they engage with the community and how they choose like, you know, what products they sell, and why a cooperative would be better for Isla Vista for now and in the future versus like having more IB food markets. So yeah.
Do they know that you guys are doing this research?
So I'm in charge of the co-op part, and then they're supposed to. The other half of my group is supposed to be interviewing the IB market, but I'm not sure if they've gotten started on that yet. But yeah. Okay.
I don't feel totally comfortable because I'm really like, there's a lot about Isla Vista Market that's like a really rich story for Isla Vista. They are the oldest business in Isla Vista, and they're family owned. And so it makes me feel like I'm just confused contextually about how to say something is like better or worse for Isla Vista. So I just like, I'm happy to talk about the co-op part, but like just on like a personal level, that feels really uncomfortable for me.
Okay.
Because that's like provided their whole family's livelihood since like 1960.
Okay. All right.
So that's my only like, on like a people part, like I think that we need Isla Vista Market and we need Isla Vista Food Co-op in a community like this, because it provides two different things for different people. Corporation, different, right? Like that's a different business model that might not behoove Isla Vista. So that's my only like, I know a lot about their business and about how hard they work and about how hard it is to do this as a grocery store and why it costs as much as it does to put those products on their shelves and how much they believe in grocery for Isla Vista. Like there's so much about food security. And they also can't do community engagement because they're exhausted and they're really, really like busy all the time. And people don't believe in them. So that's my like on like a, sorry, I'm like, I just came out of a heady meeting and that like makes me feel so sad.
Are you okay? We can.
No, it's okay. It just bums me out that is the languaging going on about that there's a research project that sounds really negative about Ivy Market and that they're actually being engaged. Why would they be being? It's like, that's all. I just feel for those guys.
Yeah, that wasn't our intention. Really, what we're trying to do is like, the way that we interpreted it as like a group was kind of like, in terms like Ecovista, just trying to like see like the future. So we're doing like our whole research project is also like the traditional grocery stores versus the co-op. So we're doing like other case studies in different areas as well.
So are you looking at like corporate ownership and investor ownership versus family ownership?
Okay, that's something that we weren't aware of, but
Isla Vista is a community made up of immigrant businesses, family businesses, alumni-owned businesses, the co-op, and a few corporations. That's just the business model snapshot of this community. I had to be really aware as a sociology group also for polarizing the nourishment of a family-owned business in a community like this is like critical, right? Like, no, less 7-Elevens maybe, but like maybe more Ivy markets and more co-ops. You know, I don't think you guys want everything to be a co-op. This is fucking difficult. So that's just it feels very, like it's not like Ecovista sounds like it's a concept that could be identifying like a whole system, but by taking away the opportunity for like an immigrant family to come here and say that that's a valuable tool, or a family that's contiguously owned a business since 1960, continuity is critical. If I hadn't showed up here, it'd be out of business, just to be honest. There's no continuity to this story. Co-ops require continuity. Isla Vista doesn't have any. So it's people. So it's they're a family anchor that's anchored that business. So I'm just saying, that's my only appeal to you guys thinking about it in like a more, you know?
No, I think this is very valuable too, because like I wasn't aware of that, and like this is like an opportunity, like so that way we can like rethink how we're going about this project. So thank you for that. Genuinely. Is there anything else that you could tell me about Ivy Market?
When you walk in the door and you see 3 people working their butts off, that's where your money ends. That's a big deal to know, that when Terry rings you up, the money ends there. That's their family. when you go into Sprouts and you get rung up by the cashier, your money doesn't end there. They get some of your money, but the money ends at Sprouts headquarters in Arizona. That's the difference, right? Like, you know, at the co-op, your money ends here. You see us. This is the same thing right there. Ours happens to be owned by thousands of people. Theirs owned by one family. But the money ends right there at that family. That's really important. That's a distinction of a business model. When you go to Costco, your money doesn't end there. It helps those employees, but guess what? When Costco doesn't make their sales goals, it doesn't totally matter at that location. There's a national pool of money to pull in to help pay those workers. If they don't hit their sales goals, that's that whole pool of money to pay their family. That's the difference in the business models, okay? Yeah. I really, like, that's, you see my face. It's like I have a deep connection because there's so many people that don't understand, but nobody thinks about asking it. It's assuming that they're here for what? I don't know. If they didn't want to be here, they wouldn't be here anymore, trust me. It's a lot. It's very hard work. Yeah. Yeah. I'll advocate for them until I'm purple in the face.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for letting me say that.
No, awesome. Like, if there's anything else that you want to say in regards to that too, because that's coming from our own ignorance. And
I'm surprised that somebody wouldn't have thought to maybe take a step back and say what the why is behind Isla Vista Market. Like, why are they here?
See, that's the thing too, is because we knew that we were gonna compare like two grocery stores, and like we just happened to choose Ivy Market because we weren't like, I don't know, like there was no logic behind it. Essentially, so that's on our part.
I think it's really important for any student that's thinking about whatever, like Eco Vista, maybe that's like this ideal version of Isla Vista, to think about, in an ideal world, people would trust the businesses that they're shopping in, right? Like this was not the go-to grocery store till about maybe 3-4 years ago. It took a crap ton of work to get it there. Cooperatives are awesome. But a community like Isla Vista requires people to anchor the business down.
Right.
Otherwise, who cares about the business? They steered that business forward from 1960 till now. That's huge, particularly in the face of corporate grocery dominance, where you guys walk into a store and you think that Trader Joe, not you specifically, but like the universal you thinks that food should be cheap. That's a huge challenge that we're facing as grocers, because we know that our produce should not cost us money. It has to cost that much so that farmers can be able to feed themselves. Their food has to cost that much so that they can feed their family also. There's just like so many levels to the grocery industry that's so far beyond just the store part of it, which is impossible to keep up with because Amazon just bought Whole Foods.
Right.
Or 7-Eleven now has, you know, more grocery options and maybe they're cheaper because there's a lot of 7-Elevens. There's one Isla Vista Market in the whole world. It's right here in Isla Vista. There's one Isla Vista food co-op. It makes it different to run the store. So that's my grocery. That's a tiny little slice of a very large conversation about the grocery industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, this is good because I'm thinking with that in mind, we're going to take our research project in a totally like different direction.
Well, I mean, if you guys do the research, you'll just know that family-owned, immigrant-owned businesses, they're not immigrants, but they're family. That is one of the fabrics of this country. We're losing these businesses every day because more people want to order online and not go into a retail store, or people believe in homogenous shopping experience, like every store needs to be like Trader Joe's or whatever that is. I don't believe in that because that sounds boring. It sounds boring, and but it's a lot harder to do this work when you feel like the goal is that everybody wants cheap food. This is really it's hard to do this work and to also navigate the challenge of your overhead expenses versus how much a customer wants to pay for that cup of coffee, knowing that we have to also look at minimum wage going up and also the living wage for Santa Barbara. They're paying above minimum wage at Ivy Market to start right now, which is a really big deal. You know, so it's like there's so many factors that lead to the way that things are, and that's a lot, usually more than meets the eye. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
That's what our research is focused on.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I feel so bad.
You don't need to feel bad at all. I'm happy to talk about things. I mean, we actually talked about some of the stuff in our workshop when we had our workshop at the event. We talked about unpacking people away from not having the Fritos, actually, because you guys had Fritos. The Fritos kind of became, we had our Yelp review as part of the conversation, and Fritos, because I love Fritos and so does Chewy. They're like our favorite chips. We don't eat them often, but there's a reason sometimes for Fritos.
Yeah.
And unpacking people from the all or nothing, and that maybe it's okay to go buy the Fritos somewhere and come here and turn left and buy the produce, because we want you to focus on the produce here, right? And so it's kind of for me, if I was looking at the most eco, epic, or most idealistic way that a city could function, it's that everybody gets to share in somebody's food budget. So that Ivy Market gets to share in some of the food budget, because maybe they have more La Preferita in their set than we do. So if you're a Latino student, you feel more connected to some of what they have. But you're not being given the languaging that's bad to go over there. It's not bad, it's great. If you can take half your CalFresh there and half your CalFresh here, that's amazing. We want that. Maybe keg and bottle is less relevant. According to my friend that's really into beer, they have one of the best beer selections in the whole county or something. So anyway.
I thought 21. I didn't know that.
It's okay. Whatever, keg and bottle, whatever. But you know what I mean? There's reasons for,
Okay. Now I kind of throw away these scripted questions.
I can answer anything. And I don't want you to feel bad either. I'm grateful that you're the kind of woman that can receive that and say, wow, I'm going to think about that, because I didn't know that before, but I know that now, and that's helping me think differently about something. Because that's sociology also, and that's anthropology too. It's observation-based, you change based on observations. And,
Okay. Well,
ask me the question.
Okay, the first question was, who are you and what is your role here at the Isla Vista Food Co-op?
Okay. I am Melissa Cohen. My role is as the general manager. And so in a co-op, what that means is I sort of play the role of an executive director like you'd have at a nonprofit, but I also am in charge of the operations of the grocery store. And that is sort of steered from a board of directors. So the board of directors, just like a nonprofit, exists, but at the co-op model, the co-owners elect the board, and anybody can run for the board that is a co-owner of the co-op. So the board helps dictate the big strategy, and then they approve a budget that I write. And the budget that I write has to accomplish all the goals of the strategic priorities that were set by the board and the community. And so I'm in charge of all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How do you choose what you sell at the store? So what kind of criteria do you set before you place product on yourselves?
So there's a bunch of different ways. First and foremost, we don't have to really ascribe to anything besides what we're here for, which is to be in service to our community. So within that, we can kind of talk about a bunch of different ways that we make choices. So we don't have a current purchase policy, but what we do have is our set of strategic priorities. And so that helps us be able to better identify what the membership ownership is asking of us. So for example, local food system support is one of them. So within that, we prioritize our produce racks supplying from as many local farmers as we can. In the grocery aisles, as many local producers that we can comfortably put on the shelves. But also the priority of healthy food for all means that we're creating framework for more maybe inclusive products. So all of a sudden we don't have to only have all organic food on the shelves, which we never did. But now we actually have a priority that allows us to maybe consider something like conventional rice and beans if we wanted to do that. So we hear you, basically, and we make moves based on what our community is asking. We do have a few areas that are hard and fast no. We believe that farm worker justice is really important, so we would not put conventional produce on the shelf unless it's a really specialty item. We had star fruit from Taiwan that customers were requesting. So we try to navigate hearing people, but also holding space for the values that show up within those strategic priorities. Yeah. Is that complete enough of an answer, or do you want more specific?
No. Can we touch on a little bit more about farm workers justice?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, Santa Barbara is the biggest agricultural producing county in the country, and so we have a lot of farm workers in this community alone, many of whom actually are touch pointed to Isla Vista because of obviously a very large Latinx community out here in IV. And so we know through just our direct working with the local food community, for example, strawberries are really, really pesticide heavy. There's been some work to make it less toxic, but it's still a pretty toxic piece of produce. Santa Maria is the biggest strawberry producing community in the whole country. And so we try to hold space for identifying farms, including farms that we worked with since like 1980, 1970, that we were the first place they ever sold to, that we still buy from, that advocate for organic or unsprayed practices. It's pretty simple. So we buy from farms that take care of their people well. We want to take care of them well also. Most of our produce is certified organic or it's unsprayed because we buy from backyard growers also. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
The other thing I was going to say is we're part of our national co-op grocers, and so they have like new items programs, they have co-op basics, they have promotions programs. So we're not required to have those items here, but we choose to participate pretty actively in all these programs because it brings more value to you as a shopper at our store. So you might find a lot of national brands here, maybe stuff that we as people wouldn't necessarily want to stock all the time, but we have to be able to get prices that also make sense for you as a shopper. So that's part of why we participate and bring in brands of things that come through those channels also. We're not required to, but we choose to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what is your selection criteria for employees? So like when you hire somebody, what do you look for someone to work like in your store?
I don't know how to answer that one. It really depends on what we're hiring for, I guess.
Yeah.
Entry level basically is everything from past job experience to current availability to how well you show up in an interview and feel like you can like do the work, I guess. Like, you know, hiring is tricky. We have a what is that called? California is an at-will state, but we also have something on our application. It's a good Ava question. She's HR. Basically, I don't know what the term is, but it's like a non-discriminatory whatever that we have. Yeah, so we ascribe by that, obviously. And then we want the co-op's employees to like feel representative of the community around us also. And so within that, we do try to ensure that our applications are going out to a we post, you know, in places that are diverse so that we can attract a diverse of experiences of people coming from different places. So there's lots of intention that goes into how we hire. It's like a big question to answer. It's not as simple as everybody gets hired all the time. We definitely have interviews happening 24/7 almost, it feels like, to make sure that we're, you know, that we're always looking for the very best qualified humans, and that depends on the time of year, it depends on the job.
Okay.
That's my best answer to that. It's hard. It's actually a really hard part of the job because and also requiring, I will say also that we require 16 to 18 hours of work minimum a week right now, and that really does set the stage for people applying here that don't just want to work here but really need the job. And needing a job versus wanting a job are kind of two different things in terms of often the quality of worker that we'll get. We also really like looking for past experience that might be not obviously applicable, but to us could be very applicable. Like if you worked for like corporate fast food, for example, that might not seem like an obvious jump to the co-op. To me, it's like money in the bank for an employee. We have 2 former fast food workers in there right now that are 2 incredible workers at the co-op.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how does your store engage with the community, both with like UCSB students, but also like the local families here in Isla Vista?
So many ways. The events calendar is probably a good thing to take a look at. We publish that once a month. But in general, I mean, the co-op is based in engagement. That's part of my other job. So I'm the general manager, and within that, community engagement is a huge part. Forming partnerships that are not just strategic to feed customers here, but partnerships that really identify our values through our priorities are really important. We've been in like a 10-year partnership with Isla Vista Youth Project, for example, and so that gears more towards our local family support. We go to their Healthy School Pantry once a month, which is their food distribution, and we do bilingual education, and we donate always the ingredients for their Harvest of the Month item. We do Latino Parenting Night workshops with them, and so that's just one example. The Kids Club is an example. Kids Club was created to be kind of a catch-all way for more families to have integrative shopping opportunities at the co-op. This Saturday, the same day of the event, there was a Kids Club event happening here, and it's a mashup that has turned into being a real opportunity for local children from Isla Vista to feel like they have a place to come once a month and like get weird on the patio and like have fun and have ownership. And that wasn't necessarily what Kids Club was meant to do, but it created a completely awesome relationship that was formed with Annie's after school program, Annie from the Ivy Reckon Park. That's fed over to our work with the Teen Center, for example. So I work with Fran and Leonore and the St. George Family Youth Center. And so now the kids that come to after school can like graduate and they go to the Teen Center and they know us. So it's just like, that's one way. And then you see us at UCSB across campus in a lot of different ways. That's been my work when I was, before I was GM, I built that whole education program for us way back then, all through partners, Environmental Affairs Board, Ivy Tenantine. I mean, that's what the lifeblood is, because you guys leave all the time. And so as students leave, we need to have anchors. I say anchors a lot, but like we look to like a department, right? So like, you know, the Environmental Studies Department, for example, could be one department that we would look to kind of feedback with like some of our programs. We've kind of gotten beyond the basis of like ES, which is much more fun now.
Yeah.
I mean, we do all kinds of stuff. I don't know. We go to events, we do education, we do workshops. We were the founders of the Food Nutrition Basic Skills program. That was my idea with Twin, who used to run the food pantry. We were at a task force meeting. We're like, we should do this thing to create more avenues for basic skills to be taught, right? So FNBS was born. So it's kind of like that. Like we just show up and we engage.
It's awesome. Okay. So how long have you been involved with the Isla Vista Food Co-op?
I started working here as a sandwich maker when I graduated UCSB in 2003, excuse me. So this will be my 15th year next month. I came and went the first couple of years after I graduated. It wasn't meant to, it wasn't a plan.
Right.
So I was a sandwich maker. I left, I traveled for about a year. I came back, I got more activated and I started taking ownership. I left again and I came back in 2006 as the first ever education and outreach manager for the co-op, and I've been here pretty much a straight shot ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why do you do this job? What does this job mean to you?
I don't know how to answer that. Why do I do this job? It's pretty rare that you can be a person that has a big capacity, strong work ethic, strong body, big heart, brain, mouth that can speak really well, and that somehow you're given an opportunity that's a blank canvas that really is, how big do you want to play? How much do you want to learn? How much do you want to invest? I do this job because I'm 36 years old, and for almost 15 years, 12 years, I've been able to show up every day at a place that I've been able to help create. It had 40 years or 35 years before that, but there was not, at this moment in time, a person or people to step in and to reset a stage with intention at a time when what was needed the most was the relevance needed to be recreated. So I do this because every day I'm inspired, I learn something new, I get to help inspire somebody else. I mean, I can't imagine that somebody my age has gotten to have an opportunity like this, maybe ever, because we also are steering millions of dollars of resources through a thing that I get to decide what we do with the money, in a sense. And so it's like, I get the chance every day to show up and decide how to make something the most impactful, or the most opportunity to be the most accessible, or the most inclusive, or the most whatever we want it to be. And I do this because I haven't gotten tired of doing that yet. And every day, like meeting you, that was a great example. When I met you in that meeting, it was, I really mean that though. That's like, those are the moments where you look and you see someone, maybe 5 years ago, you would have not walked in the door here. And I really mean that. Like maybe 5 years ago, you would have walked in the door and been like, this is not a place for me. No, but really. And to have that happening now, to have you guys invite us to that conference to teach that workshop, that's why I do this. Because I thought maybe 5 years ago that we could create a place where everybody could feel comfortable walking in the door. Maybe you can't afford to buy all the things, but at least we can get past the point where you don't feel comfortable walking in the door. But I really mean that, and so that's why. because I wanted you to be able to sit here and have this conversation with me. That's why. Yeah.
That was my last question.
Good. Good. Yeah, and that's real. And so, and because Isla Vista deserves to have a place like this so that people can feel like they can feel included and that Isla Vista has people that care. But it doesn't have to be me. I'm holding space so that somebody can step in after me. I look forward to the day that I don't do this anymore because it means it's ready for the next generation. I mean that. There, Taylor, there. Jesus. Yeah.
Hold on. Thank you so much for doing the interview.
Those are not dumb questions. Those are hard questions too, because I don't